There we go. All right, so we are now live. And I'll start. The August 10th, 2020 meeting of the Yarmouth Old Kings Highway Historical District Committee is about to convene. As a precautionary measure to reduce the spread of coronavirus, all town buildings are closed to the public. Therefore, this meeting will be held by remote participation. My name is Dawn Marie Flett, and I will be moderating this virtual meeting. I will now turn it over to the chair of the committee.
Good evening and welcome. My name is Richard Gegenwath, and I am the chairman of the Old Kings Highway Historic District Committee for the town of Yarmouth. I will begin by taking a roll call to see if we have a quorum. Bob Wilkins.
Here.
Rosemary Nichols.
Here.
John Stewart.
Here.
Paula Morrison.
Here.
And I'll call out Jane Hildebrand, but I don't think she's here. She's not. Okay, and of course I'm Richard Gegenwath. So we have a quorum and we can call this meeting to order. It is now 20 after 7. And I will ask the moderator to explain how the remote participation work before we proceed with the meeting itself. Please, Dawn Marie.
Okay, pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Massachusetts Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 23, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Yarmouth Old Kings Highway Historic District Committee is being conducted by remote participation. No in-person attendance will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access and participate in the proceedings as provided for in the order. Persons who would like to view this meeting while in progress may do so by joining this virtual meeting as an attendee or viewing the live feed on the Yarmouth YouTube channel. You may also listen to the meeting by dialing into the number provided on the notice of meeting. We will also post a recording of this meeting on the Town of Yarmouth website as soon as we are able. Please be patient as we work to overcome any technological challenges that may arise during this virtual meeting. To reduce confusion during the meeting, all audience participants will be muted by the moderator. As participants are called upon to speak, they will be unmuted. Applicants will be asked to raise their hand, to use the raise hand button, or press *9 on their phone to identify themselves to the committee when prompted. The moderator will then unmute the applicants when they are called upon to speak. Application materials will be made visible by the moderator only if asked to do so. During the portions of the hearing designated for public comment, the chair will ask if anyone in the audience has any questions or comments relating to the item being heard. Anyone wishing to speak can do so by using the raise hand button within the virtual meeting or by pressing *9 on your phone to indicate that you would like to comment. Please wait for the moderator to recognize you before speaking. Members of the public who wish to provide comment will be asked to identify themselves for the public record by clearly stating their first and last name, as well as their affiliation to the item being heard. To ensure clear communications, we ask that you consider the following guidelines. Please do not use speakerphone or Bluetooth devices. Mute all background noises. Clearly state your name each and every time prior to speaking. All committee votes must be roll call votes. After a motion is made and seconded, the chair will ask for a roll call vote. All motions, decisions, and conditions will be verbally read into the record. If it appears that the meeting cannot or should not proceed, then the moderator will recommend that the chair request to continue the hearing to a later date and time and/or until public meetings can resume normally. We want to thank you in advance for your patience and cooperation, and the committee chair will now proceed with the hearing.
Thank you, Dawn Marie. There are 6 new and 2 continued applications for certificates of appropriateness that will be heard this evening in the order listed on the agenda. Please be reminded that our committee's main purpose is to review items for appropriateness and setting and it's the responsibility of the applicant to comply with the regulations of other town boards and departments, including building, conservation, engineering, health, zoning, and the sign inspector. You should know that there is a 10 calendar day appeal period, starting once a decision is filed with the town clerk. Any person aggrieved by our decision tonight can appeal to the Regional Commission of the Old Kings Highway. And our office administrator will be happy to answer any questions you have with respect to that process. So moving to the agenda itself. The first item is kind of multiple thing. Part of it is to paint shutters, doors, and brick foundation. This is at 173 Route 6A. Emily and Rosalind Burbank are the owners. Also of concern is a 32-foot tall white wooden fence with 4-foot evergreen hedge at the front of the property and a 4-foot evergreen hedge along the sides of the property. So we'll take them step by step, I guess. And is Rosalind here tonight, or Emily? I believe the
Burbanks have their hand up.
Burbanks have their hand up. I'm getting there. I can promote them to panelist if you guys would like to kind of meet with them in person as well.
Okay.
what, to see their face, you mean?
Yes. Hold on once. I don't. John Marie, can you try to do it? I don't know that you, I think I need to be the host to do it. Or if you promote me to co-host, I can move the Burbanks so their face is on the screen.
All right, let's see if I can promote you. Make a co-host. There you are, yes.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to promote the Burbanks to panelist. And if they have their camera on, you may be able to see them. You see their name at the bottom.
Yes.
So their camera is not on, but they're there to speak. Burbanks, can you hear us? We should be able to hear them. Hello?
There's no microphone in there next to their name.
Yeah, I see that. Okay, give it, there we go.
Great. But we still can't hear you. Can you unmute yourselves? Try putting your cursor toward a corner of the screen.
Bottom left.
I'm not seeing the microphone icon next to their names.
No, neither am I.
Wonder if their computer does not have a speaker.
Okay.
I'm texting to them to see if they, did they test
Holding the-
microphone?
Maybe we should table this application till the end of the meeting.
No, where did the chat icon go? How do you chat to tell them? Are you texting their phone number?
No, I'm chatting to them through Zoom.
Oh, okay.
But Emily and Rosalind, can you hear us? Okay, have you tried calling in? Okay, let's try this. Hello? Hello? Oh, they're up. I am. Hello? Hello?
Can you hear us? Yes, we've called in. Can you hear us?
We can hear you now.
Okay, fantastic. For some reason, our audio cut out, so we're just going to call this in.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so if you can all hear me, this is Emily and Rosalind Burbank for 173 Route 6A.
Okay,
Okay, and you can all still hear me, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
right.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so first item, currently the trim, the doors and the shutters are painted Essex green, Benjamin Moore Essex green. We'd like to change that to black, Benjamin Moore onyx, and as well as paint the brick foundation along the sides and back of the building.
Oh, sorry.
Right.
All right. I think I might have put that on the last page. I think.
Yeah, that Essex green is so dark that it's practically black. So
Well,
Uh-huh.
there would not be much change. That's
Well, the changes to the bricks on the.
right.
That, I have an objection to that. That's a beautiful, I like the brick foundation there. That's been there since it was built. What's the purpose of painting it black? Is it to seal
Well,
it?
we visited Nantucket, and a lot of the homes over there have the painted brick, and we just thought it looked very nice in the town itself, the old antique buildings. And it shows actually the driveways. It stirs up a lot of dirt also. I think it would probably hide, some of the dust a little bit better than the brick does.
I would think the other way around.
Yeah.
Possibly.
No, I don't have an objection to painting anything else black, but I don't agree with painting the foundation.
Yeah, we're still exploring it, with our mason just to make sure that that wouldn't be harmful to the brick too. So it's still up in the air whether or not we're actually going to pursue that and if that's even healthy for antique bricks.
They could be sealed or sealed.
Right, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
Feeling?
Yeah.
I think brick should look like brick, Nantucket notwithstanding. I quite relevant to Nantucket anyway.
Okay. How do you think guys feel about that?
I think it should
Yeah.
look like brick.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll approve the color change, but not the color change to paint the bricks.
Right.
Okay.
Is that a motion?
Well, I
Well,
think we have to go through the whole application, don't we, before?
yeah, it's all written up together.
Yeah,
It's all one piece. So, but that at least is fairly straightforward. Relative to the other aspects in terms of wood fence and so on. We had gotten, I think, 3 letters from 3 different parties concerned with that. And one of them we just got this evening at 6 o'clock, which Dawn Marie would have to read some of that. And I had gotten one from Betty Lentell, who is at 175 Main Street, right, abutting. And she was concerned that that she objects to the 4-foot high evergreen shrubs being proposed along the east side of the property. And they would object to that. And one of the problems is, which often happens in Yarmouthport, they are usually deep, narrow lots. And oftentimes the houses aren't located completely on their own property even. And so the location of property lines is kind of unknown in a lot of cases. So
Yeah.
they are going to have.
We've already
they're going-
We've already put in a request to have the property surveyed before we would place any hedges. We're
Yeah.
waiting for an answer from them.
Right, because they were talking about getting it done themselves even. Particularly, the other party was Anthony Pinabianco, who lives on Minden Lane. And he expressed concern with the view that the fencing and shrubs would block the view. There's a certain amount of traffic goes in and out of there. And he sees it as a problem oftentimes right now, even without the fencing. So he is opposed to that. So
Yes. So I had a conversation with Anthony today, and I actually, could we change the application to reflect? So it says a 4-foot tall hedge. It's really going to be no higher than 38 inches. So is there a way we can change that to reflect 38 inches instead of 48 inches? And I also talked to Anthony of concern right now is people parking out front because it's not designated one way or another by the town, whether, you know, it should be sidewalk, but it's not clearly marked. So we were going to work with him as well as other neighbors to see if we could get, you know, the municipality to paint on, you know, a designated pedestrian lane there for safety and as well as to keep cars from parking there, which is obstructing the view.
yeah, I have a concern, which I've been to your place several times, and I've always had scary time getting out. But in addition, the fencing would aggravate that. But if you look at the residential setup there in the town, on the north side, a lot of homes are made into inns, and they have high bushes and so on, and they come right up to the sidewalk. And on the other side of the street, the south side, everything is low, and the whole side, that whole side is all the way down to the bank, practically. There's a couple of buildings that are very close to the sidewalk, but there's a definite sidewalk all along on that side. And that should be kept so that the sidewalk ends up being well defined. And the streetscape is the word I'm looking for, stays the same. So I'm personally opposed to putting fencing in at all. No less having tall 42 or 38 inch tall bushes. I think it changes the whole streetscape. And I mean, if it were on the other side of the street, I wouldn't have a problem with it. Like down by Optimus Cafe, they just rebuilt that building next to it, did a great job. And you could put a short fence over there someplace, but they've kept it open too.
Well, to speak to, I mean, we're an architectural review board, so really architecturally, this is one of my favorite buildings in the village. I think it's kudos to you guys, the owners, for turning it into a vibrant part of our business district. But everything that's been added just doesn't add anything to the structure itself, which is our goal here on this board. It's getting busier and busier as we add more things.
Yeah, the short wall.
Taking it away from, it's an absolutely gorgeous building. It's one of my favorite buildings in the village. And architectural, the interest of it is just stunning. Yeah, your parking problem is something else that's really not up to us, but you're a victim of your own success, I think. But as far as the plantings and the fence, I think it detracts from the building. I think it distracts and detracts from the building. It's a beautiful fence, and I appreciate your how attractive they are. But I agree with Richard. I don't think that they're. I think they're not necessary here.
I disagree. Can I say something?
Oh, sure.
Well, I mean, in the historic photographs of the building, there was a picket fence there, not necessarily across the front, but if you look at the other historic pictures, most of these homes had picket fences, and they were much higher than the one we're proposing. I think it would actually accentuate the building, being that it's so small. I would not want to see a high one, but I think a small one would accentuate the property. And just because the other properties along there don't have a lot of landscaping going on, I don't really think that's a reason to object to a low hedge. I think any green and beauty we can get very low, and the fence only goes along the front. It does not go on the sides. And it's only 32 inches tall, and the hedge can be 34. I personally think it would beautify the building. It would beautify the street. They used to have picket fences. Almost every house in Yarmouthport had a white picket fence.
I have a question about, is there a practical rationale for this fence? In other words, are you planning on outdoor seating in front of the building?
Well, there'll be outdoor seating on the patio eventually.
In the front of the building? Behind the fence in front of the building?
Well, we had eventually thought about doing events out there, but that's for down the road. Right now, it feels very exposed to us, and we'd like to make it feel a little more private and intimate.
Well, that's my question. Does the fence and the greenery, are you thinking not just aesthetics, but also for the benefit of patrons sitting on the patio in front of the building? That's my question.
That was part of it, just to make it feel more private and a little more protected. Right now, it feels very open to the road.
Okay. Also, the design of the fence itself. I would like to see, if there's to be a fence, I would like to see a picket fence of the type that's more common to Yarmouthport rather than to Nantucket.
Okay.
So as nice as it may be somewhere, in other words, on Nantucket, I'm not sure it's appropriate for Yarmouthport, that particular design. So a simple picket fence, if we were going to go for a picket fence or a fence at all, would, I think, be more appropriate and desirable for that location. Also a question about the hedge. So this hedge, it will only grow to, does this hedge have to be trimmed in order not to grow to a height that's
Yeah.
going to be a
Yep.
problem in the future?
Regularly.
Oh, no, this will probably be trimmed a few times a month. It's a yew hedge, that's what we're planning, so it'll take heavy pruning.
Okay, well, so for as long as you own the building, that's not an issue.
Yeah.
You'll maintain that hedge. But if you were to sell the building or for any other reason, the building was to fall into other hands, then maintaining that hedge is now transferred to someone else. And it could grow, would grow potentially to a very
8
tall
foot
height.
tall.
And that would create a real problem for a visibility issue and also for the abutting neighbors. So I think that has to be taken into consideration.
I believe with the yew hedges, there may be a variety that will not grow. I know I just had a doctor's visit today, and their yew hedge was not more than a foot tall, and I'm sure they had to prune it, and it was looking very lovely. So I think there are varieties that will not, I mean, we could choose a variety and run it through the board that would not ever get, taller than a certain point.
Okay, well, so anyway,
We're just,
we have a number of issues that are hanging in the balance, or you might say in limbo here. So first of all, we don't know about the property lines. That has to be investigated and determined.
In the street.
And we're now on the issue of what kind of hedge we're going to plant that won't, left alone, grow to a very tall height to obscure driveways and what have you. So I think we really need to get answers to these unknown issues before we can make a determination on this
The
application.
sidewalk needs to be defined and.
Yeah.
We also have this, I'm looking at a hedge and pleached tree detail. And you're talking about, you guys are talking about pleached hornbeam trees, shaping like a tree canopy. Is that on both sides of your driveways on each side of the house?
No, just on the east side to add some privacy for the second floor residents, because right now it looks out onto, the other buildings, roof line, windows, and shingles.
Okay, and now they object to that. The lamp shop owner owns that whole building, and they're objecting to that because it's too close to their building.
Right.
their building is one of it is about, how much is it?
Well, from the plot we have, it's about, I think, within a foot of our property line.
But that's really not our fault that the previous owner, that somebody down the line built that close to our property line. It's just that one point that you can see in the picture that juts out. And we've measured from an old plot we have, and we have a pretty good idea of how, far our land goes in that direction. And the pleaching allows even all the canopy of the tree to stay within our property line. And I believe from reading the laws in Massachusetts that, well, first of all, there is no regulation against planting a tree if it's on your property, but and they have the right to cut the tree limbs and the tree roots if it goes onto their property, but that probably won't even happen even with the building jutting out like that. They're very small trees, and bleaching makes it as small as you can to keep them trimmed.
So
Very
we have a lot of unknowns here, to repeat
Yeah.
myself. And I think we need to know the answers to the unknowns before we can act on this application. So are you clear on all of the issues that I think we collectively feel need to be resolved before this application can go forward?
Yes, I think so. So we'll submit a fence design, a new fence design, and we will try to locate some hedges that will only grow to a, less than 32. And I'm not sure about the tree issue because the law seems fairly clear to me if we plan on our property line. So I'm not sure what we need to do about that.
The property line, someone has to do the property line survey.
Right, they're supposed to be doing it, so.
Rosemary is raising her hand.
I'm raising my hand. I have some concerns about requiring a planting that can only grow so high. I think that it's reasonable to expect that the property owner would keep the hedges trimmed to the height that was approved, and to try to anticipate that down the road, some future owner in the future might not trim them. I think that perhaps could be specified in the event that the property were sold. But I think that my overall impression of your proposal is very positive, and I think that with the additional information being requested by the committee and your willingness to with your neighbors, even as late, I guess, as this afternoon, to work this out among yourselves is very good. So I just wanted to say that we look forward to seeing your modified proposal.
Yeah, now, I'm concerned with what we can do and what we can't do tonight. Doesn't look like we can do much on any of the plantings. The approving of the black, the shutters and doors, and probably putting a sealant on the brick, if you want to separate them out, and we could move on that lot.
Excuse me, Richard. I believe there is some public comment.
Okay,
Richard Dunray is correct. Mrs. Lentel and the Panabiancos are both
Lydia?
hands raised and would like to speak.
Good.
And there's a third hand raised just now. I'm going to start with Mrs. Lentel. She was the first with her hand up.
Good.
Mrs. Lentel, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
We can. Thank you for waiting.
Thank you. While I understand their desire for privacy, when they purchased the property, they were aware that our building was a pre-existing, non-conforming building, that the lot lines were very close. And we have tried to work with them and discuss different options over the 3-year period that we've owned the building, with no return back from them. And our emergency exit from our second story is also on that side of the building. And any hedges there create a barrier for emergency vehicles or any unforeseen circumstances that could really be a hazardous condition. And in addition, our insurance company has always addressed with us the need for keeping, airflow around the building to help us maintain the quality and condition of the building. And that will also severely impact that. Now, when they began construction of pavement along that side, there was no discussion with us, no effort to discuss the hedges with us or any of this. We would have been willing to work with them, but they not only paved that whole area, putting granite curbstones and move the gas line without any discussion to it or having a survey done. So we are really hesitant. It's already a dangerous situation where their patrons are parking in our parking lot at odd angles and endangering the people trying to get out of our parking lot. And any further hedges or fences will only increase that problem. So we have hired a surveyor. He is anticipating being out there in a week, and we strongly object to any of this taking place, any of the planting or fences, until more review can be done.
Thank you very much, Betty. Is Anthony here?
The Panabiancos would like to speak.
Yes. Hello, this is Anthony Panabianco. I am the owner of 7 Minden Lane in a budding property there. And I'm also a land use attorney, so I have a little bit of knowledge on this subject, hopefully. I was also a planning board member in Yarmouth for a few years as well. And you have seen my objection to this. I do believe that it is appropriate for the committee to tonight deny the applicability here, or appropriateness here, as none of the changes or potential changes that are even hypothetically suggested this evening or requested would be appropriate here in this regard. As indicated in my letter, the committee's responsibility is to promote the general welfare of the inhabitants and make sure that such application be approved without substantial detriment to the public welfare. Now, you have heard from several of the abutters here in letters and now in verbal form that it will create any form of the requested improvements here or conditions here will create a substantial detriment to the public welfare. Any fencing, any hedging along those lines will dramatically decrease the visibility of both people coming out from their own parking lot, people coming down Minden Lane, and that includes not just the residents of Minden Lane, which there are 4 houses now, soon to be 5 houses and residents there, but all of the tenants and patients and guests, JJ Mannings and the pediatricians. That is a number of individuals that are coming down there every single day, open for public, down that line, that will not be able to see out that line if there's a fence of any nature whatsoever along that property line. All of that will be a detriment to the public welfare. You're creating a hazard. We've suggested this to them previously, of the parking there has been a hazard. It was not listened to, it was not adhered to, it was not given a consideration. We asked them to amend their application prior to tonight. That was not given consideration. You don't have anything before them, before the committee tonight that suggests that they're going to. You listen to what they say in their application and their process here tonight, and they're saying, we have a pretty good idea of our property lines. We maybe sometime down the line might have a patio there or guests there or some things. These are unknowns. These are not, the unknowns are not something that you can adjudicate tonight, and it's not something that you should consider tonight. What you should consider, denying the certificate of appropriateness you're requesting. And to just add to what Betty had said, the trees that are suggested along the line for the appropriateness, there is no residency on the 2nd floor for Betty's property at the moment. Nobody resides there. So the concerns that they have of any level of looking into the properties or privacy are non-factor. It's just they want them, and that's the reason that they want them. That's not a reason that the committee should consider granting any of the considerations. You have to look at the totality of the appropriateness of the application. The application is a detriment to the public welfare. It will create a hazard. And that's simple. The proposed hedges, as we discussed, will create a barrier in being able to see from the lines through. Even a fence, if you have no hedges that obstruct entirely the visibility, even if you have a picket fence, it still obstructs the visibility, which is already at a minimal consideration. There's been numerous calls to the police in the town to request that they do something about this, as it's been a danger and a hazard in how it's been treated. So it's already been raised with the applicants numerous times and nothing has changed. Relatively speaking, they still intend to move forward with creating a detriment with welfare funds, then you cannot permit. If you look down from Willow Street down to where the applicant's property is, there isn't a single so there is no historical nature to this that it keeps in line with the historical community or gives approval that coincides with how the rest of the town is. If you look at the businesses along the south side of 6A, they simply don't have this type of fencing here because it would be obstruction and a dangerous hazard to those people driving along 6A. They simply don't have them. And where they have already dug up the sidewalk there without a permit, without being permitted to do so, we're not going to stand by and let further development happen in this nature without having the safety concerns recognized, which they are not. And just to briefly comment on the applicant's viewpoint that there are no laws that can prohibit somebody from planting on their own land, that is absolutely untrue. You have certain rights as a neighbor, both in what can be planted, what can't be planted, and how it may impact both your leaching fields, the water runoff. There are a number of considerations that are factored into what a person can do with their property. People can't just do whatever they want with their property, including planting trees. And that's, I think my letter stands by itself, but if there's any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Good. Thank you, Anthony. Was there anyone else?
There are no other hands raised.
Okay, so
Richard, will just briefly mention the letter that came in tonight from Ralph Labriola?
Yes.
Okay, and his general concern is, again, to do with the traffic and the parking. He says, unfortunately, allowing cars to park on what should be an established sidewalk seems to violate common sense pedestrian safety laws and encourages habits that make walking dangerous. It occurs to us that a defined sidewalk should be a consideration by business owners as well as the town. So again, his concern is with the safety and the lack of sidewalk, I guess, at the present time.
Yeah, I have a feeling that this application should be broken in two, and that if at some future date after a lot of things take place, the road getting straightened out and the sidewalk issues and surveying done, that a separate application could be made, and just cut that out, all of that stuff out tonight, and just look at 20-A054 as a request to paint the shutters and doors and treat the foundation, and then in some future date come back with a separate application, but that not anytime very soon that I can see.
I'm seeing two attendees have their hands up. Can you see that, Don Marie? Oh, no one.
This is Mr. Panabianco.
Okay.
I lowered my hand.
Oh, okay, thank you. Mrs. Lentel has her hand up as well. Mrs. Lentel?
Yes. I just wanted to say that, you know, I would like there to be sufficient time before anything else be reviewed on these, that perhaps some of the safety issues could be addressed, and that the, you know, neighbors, that maybe the applicants instead of just going ahead with another application, because another application, no matter the size of the hedges or the type of hedges or any of that, is not going to change any of the issues with this.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons that talking about separating this out basically into two is that we can act on the painting and they can get that done while the weather is good. The rest of it,
Could I make an observation? There's been a lot of discussion about safety issues.
yes,
And our mission is not nicely conformed to other boards in town and other agencies that are much better equipped and to whom safety are far more germane. Our for the character of and that end, most of what we deal with, our primary focus is on matters of aesthetics. So I don't think the sense of the board was ever to approve the application as submitted, and I think the chairman's idea to split it up and deal with what we routinely deal with, which is considerations of aesthetics, the colors of the shutters, is appropriate. Whether this application comes back to us with a fencing issue and a hedge issue and other things is at this point moot. So, but I just want to offer my observation that considerations of safety don't fall conveniently within our purview. There are other town boards that are much better suited to deal with those with matters of safety. So, so Mr. Chairman, how do you wish to move on this?
well, I could deny, if I took a vote, it's possible that we just deny everything tonight. We certainly, I don't think would be approving any of the landscape work. As I pointed out, it's not in keeping with the streetscape. And you pointed out that it's not in keeping with the types of fences that you would expect to see around Yarmouthport. A lot of it, you know, if you spend a lot of time in Nantucket and you like to build and design things along the lines of Nantucket, then maybe you should live in Nantucket. But we don't need to take all the things that are extraneous and put them here. So just from that point of view, without the safety consideration, but then again, we do have to do some surveying, et cetera, they do. And I wouldn't approve anything until any surveying was straightened out. So that's why I said if we break it up, we can act on the painting and it would give them a chance to do it.
Well, excuse me, Richard, if you're talking about just denying it, the applicant can certainly come in for an exemption to change to black on those paintings.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That doesn't have to be approved by us. Doesn't have to be denied either. But because they can certainly paint the doors and window shutters and the iron doors. You said, right? Burbanks, black as well. Like, there's no reason they can't do that. But the rest of it, I won't agree with.
That's a very good suggestion, John. A very clean way of dealing with this. I move to deny the application.
Second,
Wait, are we
Okay,
not approving the painting? though? I'm sorry, I'm
No,
confused.
no, you're going to apply for an exemption for the painting.
it would be
The
very,
painting can't,
you
I
will,
thought the painting can't be applied for with an exemption. The painting must go through unless it's painted white. That's,
no, you can get an exemption to paint from dark green to black. I would suggest. Richard, am I right?
but we have to, do we have to reapply?
No, you have to apply for an exemption. It's a
You have to
different
apply
process.
for an exemption.
That means you don't have to come back before us. The chairman would sign off on the exemption. It could be done very expeditiously, and you could proceed with the painting.
Right.
Okay.
I think we all would agree with that. That would be fine, as long as
And
you're
would you let us,
not painting the brick.
could you please let us know what board we would go through for the safety issues?
Oh, boy. Start with the building department, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they'll direct you.
Is it the
Okay.
planning board, maybe?
Engineering would get involved too.
And there's also, this is Dawn Marie, there's also a possibility that, that part of where the paving has been done is actually in the state road layout, because Route 6A is a state road.
Yep,
That would probably be the Mass Department of Transportation.
yep.
For the fence and the hedges?
No, this is when Nardone didn't, they tore up, part of what they tore up was state road. They should have, gotten a permit.
Yeah, and
Can I just,
it's difficult.
Go ahead.
There's a gray area there where the sidewalk and the road intersect. And the town and the state have been arguing over this since I've lived here for 35 years. I'm not sure you're going to get an agreement on anything because you had sidewalks. You had driveways on both sides of the building, right?
Yes, that's correct.
In and out.
Okay. Because there was mention of the fact that they had put a new curb cut in. I don't think you did, actually. So you have to be careful what you ask for sometimes when you go to the state.
Okay, I'm confused. The curb cut, oh, okay, just
Curb cut would
curbing.
be a
Okay.
new,
Curb cut
would be a
is
new
used.
driveway or a new road. You had existing pavement on both sides of your building.
Yes, correct. That was paved, so we
Yeah.
took up the existing pavement because the grade was wrong,
Okay.
put in curbing and then repaved where it used to be.
did you talk about the handicap?
Okay.
No.
That was just something I wanted to warn you about.
Okay, so we have a motion.
Okay.
and-
We have-
Motion, we have a second.
Yeah, so I will take a roll call vote on that. Bob Wilkins,
Aye.
Rosemary Nichols,
Aye.
John Stewart,
Aye.
Paula Morrison,
Aye.
and Richard Kagenworth, aye. So it's unanimous that we deny this application. The other items can be submitted and promptly taken care of in terms of the painting. Good. Fine. Thank you. We had just good discussion with everyone and also the visitors that came and spoke. Thank you for taking the time to do so. We'll move on to the next item, which is concerned with one of two garages. And instead of having a garage door, we'll have cedar shingles at 11 Ridgewood Drive. The homeowners are Chrismond Jean-Jacques and Ilya Lavenrov. Are they here or their agent, Ilya?
I think that, Ilya is here. I'm going to promote her to, I'm going to allow her to speak and promote her to panelist.
Good.
Ilya, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys. Yeah.
Good. Good.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you state your name for the record and I will change it on the screen.
Okay.
Your name, please?
My name is Ilya Lavrinov.
Now,
H.
Ilya Lavrinov.
Oh, okay, thank you.
so you'll be closing off one of the two garages. And is that the furthest one in that'll be closed?
Yes.
Left or, is that left or right? What do you mean? Bruce?
If you look at the wall, it's like the ones that's on the left, the one that's close to the backyard.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I
that
believe the
makes-
work is already underway, isn't it?
Yes, because the Tim Sears, you know Tim Sears, right? He didn't know that it was district, that was historic area, and he issued the permit. You know, I paid for it, and we kind of stripped the wall and removed the door. You know, but
Oh, here you go.
then he showed up and told us to stop, so we had to stop. I just papered the wall, you know, and yeah, he told me to go to the meeting.
Good, good. You did the right thing then.
So it's just a blank wall? There's no window?
No windows. There is window right. There was existing window on the other side, you know. There's existing window. It was there all the time. Right, like behind the corner from that
Around the
door,
corner.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the guy's looking to make a office space because he can't really. He works in the office as some computer technician, you know, and he's got family, he's got daughter, he's got son, and he's looking for the you know, for the office space.
Right.
You know, so he can work out of his house, because now they're all
Good.
piled up. It's actually in the basement, you know. It's kind of like there's just the two-car garage in the basement. That's it. The rest of the
Yeah.
people that stay in the house, they're staying upstairs.
Yeah. Good. Okay, so what do you guys think? We have a motion on this?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, in terms of ayes, Bob Wilkins,
Aye.
Rosemary Nichols,
Aye.
John Stewart,
Aye.
Paul Morrison,
Aye.
and Richard Kegenworth, aye. Thank you. Ilya?
Okay, thanks, guys. That was easy.
Okay, good. Thank you. So the next item is at 203 Willow Street. FNR Realty Trust is the owner, and BLF&R Architects is the agent. And that sounds sort of like Rick Finucci, I think. And we'll see who is the agent tonight. To replace a sign, he's a
I've promoted Kurt Raber.
Hello, can you hear me?
yes.
Thank you. I'm still looking at the other application. There we go. So my name's Kurt Raber. I'm a partner at Brown, Lindquist, Finucci, and Raber Architects. Listening in tonight is my longtime partner, Richard Finuccio, as well.
Uh-huh.
And he and I are partners in FNR Realty Trust.
Right.
And we own Suite A at 203 Willow Street, which is the front architecture office in the building which we share with Coysbrook Landscaping.
Right.
Recently, we've undertaken a new initiative to rebrand our architecture practice, and we will be calling ourselves Catalyst Architecture and Interiors. And we have a couple of new business partners, and the building's not big enough to put 2 more names on the sign.
Yeah.
So what we've presented tonight in the application is a new building sign and signed panels to replace the existing ladder sign that is out along Willow Street. Again, we're just about 3 doors north of the highway. Yeah, there's the second.
Right.
Our existing sign is in the same place. We're proposing the same exact sign panel size that was approved by this commission many years ago.
Okay. And
Yeah, I think we had another page that was the specifications of the height of the sign and the colors, which are a blue and a gray. As it says here, the sign on the building will be laser cut letters, raised letters, and plastic lettering on a vinyl panel. So it's an exciting time for us and the company. We'll be unveiling this officially in just a couple of weeks. So don't tell anybody. Can I answer any questions about our new signs?
good.
Looks very nice to me. Move to approve.
Well, one question I have is the shininess or matte finish. How does that work out?
I believe the letters
Themselves might.
letters will have a little gloss. The panel is kind of a matte.
More of a matte finish.
Right.
Okay. And the background is pretty much white,
Yes.
because on that lattice sign that you showed a few minutes ago, it came out kind of yellow.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the cut and paste in the Photoshop world.
Right, right.
You can see that the gable arch over the sign is looking a little pink on my screen tonight, but in the real world, it's bright white.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, the background on the Coys Brook and Cape Associates is white.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So we had a motion. Was seconded? Yes,
I'll second it. Paula,
Paula. So I'll take a roll call. Bob Wilkins,
Aye.
Rosemary Nichols,
Aye.
John Stewart,
Aye.
Paula Morrison,
aye.
and Richard Gankworth. Aye. Good. So thank you for giving us the details tonight. We'll keep it a secret.
Thank you. All right.
Good. All right. The next item is concerned with a pool fence at 10 Elmcroft Way. And the homeowner is James Mocknick. Do I pronounce that correctly?
I think that Mr. Matchnick is here, and I'll promote him to panelist right now.
Yes, I am here. Jim Macknick, owner of 10 Elmcroft Way, Yarmouthport.
Good. So, the fence is in the back, the pool is in the back,
That's correct.
and there's a lot of shrubbery along on the sideline. The fence itself is basically just around the pool.
That's correct.
Yeah.
The pool already
And-
installed?
And it's kind of a wrought iron or something, as I recall. Is
Yeah,
it-
black aluminum wrought iron,
Right, good,
4 feet high.
good. Okay, so there we go, that's it. Yeah, that should work. And it won't be too visible from anywhere.
Yeah, right. I was just about to, I was asking if the pool was already installed because you really can't see it. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Yeah, because it's way in the back.
Okay. No
Okay,
abutters?
a motion?
A motion to approve?
I'll second. Oops.
Sorry.
Ladies first.
Okay, so Paula is the second on this.
No, that's Rosemary.
Rosemary, I'm sorry. Now, for who's in favor? Bob Wilkins?
Aye.
Rosemary Nichols?
Aye.
John Stewart?
Aye.
Paula Morrison?
Aye.
And myself, Richard Gagenworth. Aye. Okay. Can start building the fence.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Now we have a new single-family home at 57 Sisters Circle. The homeowner is Amanda Jamolis, and Mark Harmon is the agent. I take it Mark would be here tonight.
I have Mr. Harmon. I'm not sure if there's anyone else here that would like to speak. If the owner is here. I think it's just Mr. Harmon.
Good. Is he, I can't hear him.
I'm trying to unmute him. There we go.
I'm here.
Great.
Good evening.
Good evening. I had a couple of things to ask about. We end up with a funny point at the top of the house where the roofs come together. And I would think that could be eliminated if you change the slope. If you look at the east elevation, there's kind of a dormer coming out on the second floor, which has 10-on-12 pitch
Yeah.
on 3 sides. And the side that faces the street, at the front of the house, that works out nicely to be a 10 pitch because everything else is 10. But on this side view, east elevation, if you drop that to more like 8.5 inches, similar to the garage, then that would bring the peak down, and you have to have this funny thing.
That, you're talking about that funny little peak up over
Yeah.
here? Yes. Okay. Yep.
Gets all dictated by this gable,
Okay.
you know. And if you drop that down, it would straighten up the whole top. The guys cutting the rafters would be happy.
I'm sure.
Roofers are going to be happy, and I think it would end up looking very nice.
Okay. I think that's a good idea.
Okay. The other thing is, I had some questions. The garage is very long. It's like 44 feet. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the front of the garage is where the cars would be, I take it.
Yes.
And the back of it, where there's a either sliding door or patio doors to a deck, that must be like a workshop or.
Actually, it's an in-law apartment.
Okay, so that's useful space, living space. And so we have a door out to the deck, which is nice. Then there's a couple of windows that show up on the east elevation. And I'm not sure, they look like tall, narrow things.
Excuse me, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay, go ahead.
What the door, it's actually 2 doors. So the one on the left is the door into the in-law apartment, and the one on the right is the door into the garage.
Oh, okay, so these don't have windows in them or anything, they're just
No, sir.
like 4-panel doors.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you got a big cricket here where in the south elevation, that one building, which it shows up as part of the roof. Because on the other side, it goes up against the flat siding. And so you end up putting a big, long cricket there. So that's an interesting thing. It won't be very visible, and it'll work, I guess, when it snows.
Right.
The other thing is, I always like to get people, if they're building a new house, that they build it in such a way as they take advantage of the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that means that you should not have the front of the house parallel to the street. And in this case, on the south elevation, the roof up above on the second floor and on this one-story section are maybe 15 degrees off of being properly aligned for solar cells or hot water cells or photovoltaic cells. And it would take take the whole thing and just rotate it a few degrees. It would help your efficiency in the future.
We're not planning on any solar cells, but you're just saying in case we do in the future?
Yeah, and in today's, more and more use of solar cells coming in. We have applications all the time. There's one tonight even, and
Right.
and most of them are put on east sides, west sides, north sides, south sides, but none of them are really properly oriented. So when you have a chance to do it right, I think it's a good thing to do.
Okay.
And certainly the septic system is well away from the house, and that wouldn't create any problem.
Right.
So topologically, it doesn't look like, it changes grade right in back of the garage there, but you'd probably make adjustments with that.
I think so.
So I would ask you to consider doing that.
Okay.
We'd have quite a lot of roof pointing in the right direction then.
Sure do, don't we?
You could put in like 30 solar panels and get yourself about 15 kilowatts of energy. It would take care of your whole energy of the house.
Right.
Good. Okay. Other than that, it's a nice looking house. These are
Thank you.
two, I take it that they are double hung windows.
Yes, sir.
It's also a fence here. I'm not clear where it is from the drawings.
Okay, so
Yeah, but the material is kind of funny.
Oh, I see it now. I'm sorry.
okay, no problem.
Comes off in the corner of the garage and off of that
Yep.
all L. 10 feet,
Right.
20 feet back, 25. Okay. And
So what do you think of the material?
all I can see is white. I'm not sure exactly what the material is.
It's a white vinyl fence.
We haven't been approving white vinyl fences anywhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
In particular, these that are
Not to say that they have
very plain.
So what have you been approving, if you don't mind me asking?
Typically cedar board fences, and have a similar trim as you showed in the picture here,
Okay.
along the top. Sometimes they scallop them, variations on the theme. So there are lots of different versions available, but we haven't been approving
Okay.
these for vinyl. So your client,
105, 108 feet, 105 feet of fence.
yeah,
Okay.
bit of fence.
105 feet is what I get.
Okay. And so, could you substitute a cedar fence for that?
I would be willing to do that, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Good. The location of it works fine, I think.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. And any other questions?
Yeah, it looks pretty good. Oh, there's a fancy thing on the top. Is that going to be a whale or something?
Where is that, sir?
Like a wind vane. Maybe the architect.
I think the architect took some liberties and put that in there.
Sometimes see whales up there.
Maybe wishful thinking, I think.
North Dakota.
Yeah.
Okay. So, any objections to anything?
Well, I think we have a couple of amendments that were proposed by the chairman.
Right, they should be wrapped up into a motion.
Right. Then
Are we clear on what they are?
the
One is adjusting the roof pitch
right.
so that it simplifies the roof plan. And the other is the fence going to cedar board.
You mentioned something about windows, Richard?
The windows are double hung,
No. Before you were talking about the tall.
12 Yeah, just looking at the plan, it wasn't clear if they were casement windows.
Okay, all right.
Probably
So
because of the-
it wasn't the configuration, it was just the function of the window.
Right. Right.
Okay, I have to learn to print up these pictures because I don't have two computers to scroll through to see various elevations and.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I have, when I got them, I printed these out.
That's the smart thing to do.
Is there, Bob, is there another elevation you wanted to see? South elevation again?
I think as long as the applicant is clear on what the amendments are, then I'm satisfied. I thought the design, when I looked at it earlier today, looked very nice. I drove over there and I think it will be a nice asset to
The street there.
Sisters Circle. So I'll move to approve the application as amended.
Second,
Okay.
John Stewart.
John Stewart is second. So we have a roll call. Bob Wilkins,
Aye.
Rosemary Nichols,
Aye.
John Stewart,
Aye.
Paula Morrison,
Aye.
and Richard Gegenworth. Aye. Great. So good luck with it now, and hopefully you work something out on the site to Amanda's got to sign off on that.
Yep. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Great. You're very welcome.
Have a good evening.
Good night. Now, the next item is concerned with 17. I'm sorry, solar panels at 17 Old Colony Way. And it's Vivant Solar. Steve Spengler is the agent, and the homeowner is Madeline Tanquay. Is
Mrs. Tangway, Ms. Tangway is here. I'll promote her to panelist.
good. Okay, so we're looking at
Is
the
there
top.
anyone else here for that matter? If you could raise your hand, please. I think you're all set. Oh. There was a hand and then there wasn't.
You think it's Madeline?
Mrs. Tangway, couldn't you unmute yourself? I'm not able to unmute her. John Marie, are you?
Okay, let me try.
I will send her a note. She may have her.
Oh, unmute. Can you hear us
Oh,
now?
there we go. Yay.
Okay, there we go.
Well done.
I'm here also. My name is Kevin.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Kevin. Kevin is here from Vivian Solar Systems.
Okay.
There's a bit of feedback. Is there anything you can do back on?
Yes, let me. Is that better?
Wait a minute. Let me pick up your phone so we can ask if they can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay.
You can hear us?
we can hear you.
Okay. Kevin, go ahead.
Okay.
So it appears that these are all on the back of the house,
Yes.
and they're pointing fairly southbound. So that's very nice. And what is the total number?
Like 36.
Yeah, about 36.
So I drove by today, and the panels will be visible from Nickerson Farm Way. This is a corner lot.
Mm-hmm.
I see an easy remedy for that issue if the swing set were moved and substituted with a nice line of arborvitaes or some other fast-growing evergreen. You could screen out the view from Nickerson Way, and it would have the dual advantage of also screening out the view of the swing set, which I think the neighbors might appreciate. So
No, unmute.
that would be my suggestion for making this an acceptable application.
Yeah, the swing set is just temporary anyway. It's just my daughter visiting right now.
Okay, nice.
That's not permanent. And my neighbors all know about it and they're all fine with it.
Okay, that would be a nice way to put in a nice array of evergreens to screen the view from Nickerson Farmway, because it's an oblique view, and the house is situated far enough away from Nickerson Farm that I think if a strategic placement of trees would do the job. Maybe not today, but the fast-growing trees would solve that visibility issue within hopefully a year or two, few years maybe, depending on the height of the trees.
Where exactly would they be on the plot plan?
Did you? Well, I'm not sure it's that
The
you
right
can get
corner.
from the
There you
application,
go. No,
but
that one.
along parallel to Nickerson Farmway,
Okay.
there's a swing set there, John, and
Well-
right along that line.
Okay.
Yes, Mary sees into my yard, the neighbor across the street, and she doesn't have a problem with it. But like I said, that swings are just temporary. It's just like a ninja warrior tied behind 2 trees.
Okay.
But my son-in-law does want to plant a tree there for me, so I think I'm getting a tree whether I want it or not.
I think you need, I think you need more than one. You're going to need about 4 by my estimate.
Yeah, yeah.
And specify where exactly on the.
Okay, so on this drawing that I'm on the plan that I'm looking at now,
plan.
it would be if you follow the line along Nickerson Farmway. I don't know if you can see where probably can't see where I'm pointing my cursor.
No,
but it's
no, we can't.
it would be about perpendicular to the division between 18.30 and 18.31.
Yeah.
Directly opposite that.
Yeah, well, my neighbor Mary, who looks directly into my backyard, is actually thinking of doing it maybe on her backyard, and then my Ken next door, who might actually doesn't see it, but they're all interested in getting them themselves. So my neighbors are fine with the idea.
Fine with the idea of the trees or the solar array?
All the solar panels.
Well,
They'd probably be okay. They'd probably be okay with the trees too.
We're fine with the two if in fact you plant some trees.
Yeah.
Where Mr. Wilkins has suggested. So,
Yeah.
that amendment?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I'll move to I'll move to approve the application as amended to include a minimum of 4 trees placed parallel to Nickerson Farmway, where the swing set is currently located.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's fine.
It's moved and seconded. John Stewart?
All in favor? Bob Wilkins,
Aye.
Rosemary
Move forward with the.
Aye.
John Stewart,
Aye.
Paula Morrison,
Aye.
and Richard Kakenworth. Aye. Good.
Right.
Thank you for coming in tonight with us.
So ask, say,
All right. So we're all set to move ahead with the panels?
Yes.
And the trees.
All right.
Trees.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, now we had 2 items continued from the last meeting. The first one, I did something on this. It started in April.
pretty though.
Oh, we're carrying it forward.
Yeah, Tony Ann Narbonne is the owner, and Leon Narbonne was the agent for an addition on the side of the cottage at 926 Route 6A. This is right next to the Peterson supermarket property. And,
Right.
they built this already, and we saw it first thing around April. And then we got stuck with the COVID-19. And we thought that someone would come and represent them last week. I don't know if anyone's come tonight.
No, he's asked for it to be continued until a time when he can meet us in person. So we're
Yeah, but so I don't see any reason to table this from meeting to meeting to meeting. It wasn't tabled. We didn't have it from meeting to meeting previously. It only started again last week, 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So I would sort of just take it off the docket for a while. And the problem here is it's already built.
Right.
And so
They don't want it to get away from us either. It needs to be.
the problem I had with it is the old section has grills in the windows and the new section does not. And the shingles will weather and they'll look fine eventually. But the windows will forever, unless somebody puts grills in them, it's gonna look naked.
So the addition is the gray shingled protuberance on the side.
Yeah,
Well, the windows are one problem. I think there are more. I wouldn't have approved this application before it was built. And the
Oh.
fact that it's already there, it doesn't change my mind. So,
So, yeah, how do you, I mean, I think that maybe Beth agreed to carry this forward. Or,
it's wasting our time to look at it every week and nobody here.
I understand. We didn't look at it last week either.
how about moving to deny the application?
And then what?
And then we'll see where the chips fall.
Well, he should be in violation if he went ahead and built this without a permit. So, did he do this with a permit from the building department? He couldn't have gotten one unless we gave it to him.
Right, they shouldn't have, yeah.
Okay, so then he's in violation. And
Let's start with what we can do. I'll move to deny the application.
has he applied?
Yeah,
Real application?
yeah, there's pictures from it.
That's and a floor plan and all that, because I don't.
It's stamped.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay.
But we can act on it, correct?
How?
I think if we could act on their behalf.
And if we deny it, the building department.
We'll see.
Yeah, maybe we'll get their attention, they'll show up.
Okay. Then I'll move to deny the application.
I think I already did. You want to second it?
Did you? I'm sorry. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, so all in favor of denial of this application? Bob Wilkins,
Aye.
Rosemary Nichols,
Aye.
John Stewart,
Aye.
Paula Morrison,
Aye.
and Richard Gagworth, aye. Good, so maybe we'll get some action.
Good.
Thank you. I hate to see it wasting our time week after week after week.
Oh, yeah, it shouldn't have been done.
I hate to see it, period.
Oh, right, exactly.
Okay, the last one, now, we made a lot of progress on this last week. And we ended up getting some new drawings. This is at 278 Route 6A. Daniel Prothero is the owner, in Green Gates LLC, which is an apartment complex, kind of. Peter Johnson was the agent, and it's replaced a picture window with a pair of in-swing patio doors. It's what was done, was proposed initially, and we had a lot of problems with it. And then someone came up, I think Beth, with a old picture of the house years ago. And from that picture, we straightened the whole thing out. So we have a new picture
Which is not, there we go.
thing. This is now the proposed, which has a simple full glass door with grills. It swings in with the hinges on the left side and two double hung windows side by side as they were many years ago.
Uh-huh.
And so this is what's proposed to be done there now.
That's
Chairman, I've promoted Mr. Prothero to panel
good.
meeting as well, too.
Good, Dan.
Good evening, everyone.
hello. Well, that's much nicer looking, isn't
Yes,
it?
thank you. I move to approve.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I didn't want to, if Dan has anything else to say, we sort of cut him off.
Right.
I'm definitely not one to interrupt someone approving my application.
Good. Okay, so we have a proposal and it's been seconded. So we'll call a vote. Bob Wilkins,
Aye.
Rosemary Nichols,
Aye.
John Stewart,
Aye.
Paula Morrison,
Aye.
and Richard Gagworth, aye. we all approve, and it's unanimous. So
Great.
Dan,
Thank you.
and
Thank
good luck with it.
That's lovely. Appreciate
All
it.
right. Great. Okay, good night, everybody.
Good night now.
Night.
Good. Okay. Well, the main problem is we have to somehow learn how to get people speaking to us, the computerization.
I'm not, is that our problem or theirs?
Well, I don't know. It's maybe joint, maybe we don't give them enough information. I don't know. Maybe they don't read the details. But it seemed to work out after a while, which is good.
Could I ask a question?
Certainly.
I know we've been at this a long time, but I just have the place we were talking about where the bakery is and the
Yes.
picket fence and the hedges.
Yes.
Who approved the wall? The stone wall.
It was
Well,
quite a while ago.
that was an exemption.
Yeah.
An exemption.
Because it's a short wall.
I'd go for the picket fence before the wall, but that's just my opinion.
Well, it's an exemption that was carried too far. I'm not sure we can discuss, can we discuss this if we're not?
And I have a procedural question. How do we deal with our discussions after we adjourn?
We're not adjourned.
Well, I know that, but I would be, if we could somehow continue this and have, in the way that we did when we were live, after we adjourn, then I think that's an issue that would be raised. I have a couple of other issues that I would raise, but I don't know if in this context with Zoom meetings, you can do that.
Yeah, this is an open meeting still.
Right.
Yeah, it's an open meeting.
The deliberations have to take place in open meeting.
This isn't a deliberation. That's what my point. I think
Well,
I think we're talking about how we proceed as a committee. So that's throw me a word, Rick. Bob.
Well, I wanted to bring up issues of violations, and I don't know if that can be done in this context.
A violation?
Yes, violations.
That's not there isn't a violation on that property. It was.
No, I'm talking about other ones.
Oh, other ones, violations? Yeah, why not? Actually, maybe, is Karen Green still here?
Yeah, I'm here. I think that it would be most appropriate if I think violations in general. I know that we've recently established the written policy.
Right.
Where we have those in writing. I think that, if technically with an agenda and public noticing, anything that, Richard as chairman sets the agenda. If there's something he reasonably expects to come up, then you add it to the agenda.
Yeah.
But I personally think kind of, freewheeling a bit is not really in keeping with the agenda. I don't know how other towns do it.
Well, what are the meetings that you hold in private? What's the word?
That's executive session, and you need.
We can discuss.
Yeah, an executive session is I can find it for you and mail it to you. I think there's 10 reasons why you have executive session. A number of those kind of have to do with employment related things.
Right.
Litigation for a piece of property, that's an executive session.
Those are, our attorney was chiding us the last time he met with us a couple of years ago that we weren't having at least a yearly executive session to discuss matters of how we deal with matters like this.
I think that, I'd be happy to speak with Attorney Wilson to understand.
Because he was surprised that we weren't having executive session meetings where we can hash these things out, but they're not. And
I'm not quite sure what the reason would be within the scope of I think it's 10, I'm going off the top of my head, the 10 listed reasons for executive session.
Or
it is strict, there are strict rules.
on a statewide, on public service type thing? Because
Yeah, with the state, with open meeting law.
okay, open meeting law, all right.
Yeah, so I can give you an example, land acquisition. So because you could be talking about negotiating tactics or anything like that, and even employment contracts when we're talking about union negotiations, those types of discussions are held by the selectmen usually in executive session.
So my point, Karen, is when we're live, what we do is we adjourn, and then the video stops, and we can bring up issues after the adjournment, and we have no mechanism for doing that here. So,
But I'm sorry, Robert, I think that you shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
My interpretation would be it's an open meeting when there is a quorum of the Old Kings Highway Committee. You're subject to open meeting law, and you shouldn't be deliberating matters outside of an open meeting.
Well, are we deliberating?
We're not deliberating matters.
Deliberating on an application.
I think we would be deliberating more like operational procedures,
Yep.
right?
And I think in that case, what I'd suggest is you add an agenda item that says, I don't know,
We should add an agenda item.
meeting format or something like that. Meeting, you come up with the topic that's going to be discussed so that the public is getting notice through the published agenda, not the legal ad, but that this is the Old Kings Highway Committee is going to be meeting and this is what they're going to be discussing.
Let me give you an example. So a typical example would be we close the meeting, the video stops, and the chairman will inform us of activities that happen outside the scope of our deliberations. For example, there might be a court case relevant to Old Kings Highway. And he informs us as to what the case was, how it was decided, if it was decided. There's no mechanism for doing that now.
Let me give you another example with the, what meeting did I go to last week? Say the Community and Economic Development Committee. Now, they're not a regulatory committee. They're more of a policy or a program-based committee. They have an item on their agenda, a standing item, that says committee member updates. And they, take turns. They have a planning board representative that will report out on what's the planning board doing, what are their initiatives. They have a Cape Cod Commission representative. He'll report what's going on there. So I think all of, if you want to continue the meeting beyond the scope of the items that were regulatory, you can certainly do so. But I think that you should add an agenda item to reflect that, since it is.
We've been doing this improperly up to now, is what you're saying.
I'm sorry?
We have been doing this improperly up to now, is what you're saying.
I think let's go forward.
So we'll add it to every meeting. At the end of the meeting, it will still be open to the public and being able to be heard. And it'll be, what will it be entitled? Discussion.
Well, what would be the topic?
It doesn't. We don't know what the topic will be.
But you're
On tonight's agenda, we have open business listed.
Open business.
Other business we have on
Other business.
Oh, okay, so we're discussing other business.
No, but you really should be more specific than that. If there's something, I think that for example, if Paula had something she wanted to discuss,
right?
The way that it sometimes works is you say, oh, Mr. Chairman, I want to talk about, I don't know, Paula, you brought up stone walls. I'm going to use that as an example. Stone walls, and some really interesting things that you've seen going on in other towns. Then your agenda item would be stone walls.
So that would be next week because it came up this week. Or
If
the
you
next
wanted
meeting.
to have a only if you want to have a conversation about stone walls. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Well, it came up tonight though, so we can't talk about it tonight.
You probably shouldn't if it has, especially if it has bearing on an application and just, the applicants have left the meeting.
Well, yeah, but in this case, it had no bearing on what we're talking about in 20-54 because it was approved months ago. And it was approved as a certificate of exemption because it's a short stone wall. And it's real stone laid or dry laid. And
well, okay, so are we discussing this now?
I'm just telling you, it's done. And how it got approved, yes, how did that get approved?
Right.
Is they wanted to put certain material down as the floor of this area. And we have a wide latitude because they really don't even have to come to us.
Okay, well, looking forward, as Karen suggested, so if I wanted to bring up a violation, I have to submit it to whom in advance of the meeting to make sure that it gets on the agenda?
Richard.
I submitted.
The chairman is responsible for setting the agenda and then staff will make sure, it gets printed up the right way.
As in, okay, so now.
No, I got it now.
We're gonna discuss a violation. A specific violation that Bob is going to bring in. And do we as a panel, do we vote on this to agree that it is a violation and submit it in that manner to the building department?
That's, it seems like that's what is that the process you've been using?
No, we haven't, but I think that's what we should do. It seems to me that if an individual sends in an application, a violation, that's one thing. But if we were to vote on it and there's a unanimous, or if it passes, then I think it holds more weight with the building department. I think so we all get to consider the violation and pass it on as a committee to the building department. How does that sound?
So anyway, the mechanism would be, I contact you, Richard, one-on-one, mano a mano, and I say, I would like to put this violation on the agenda for the next meeting or whatever meeting, if I don't tell you in time to get it on the agenda for the next meeting for the subsequent meeting after that. And then you will adjudicate that, I guess, and decide whether it's appropriate to put it on the agenda. And then it's official and it becomes public and it's part of this Zoom process. And we talk about the violation in front of the public.
Right.
Okay. All right. I'm satisfied.
And I mean, just to kind of close the loop, I'll give Jim Wilson a call too about the executive session question. And I'm just curious how other towns do the whole violation thing as well. It's not clear to me.
Yeah. Well, Zoom changes everything. Well, it doesn't change everything, but it changes that. And maybe we've been doing it improperly up till now, but we live and learn. We'll do better. Okay,
so we should adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Bob Wilkins.
Aye.
Rosemary Nichols.
Aye.
Don Stewart.
Aye.
Morrison.
Aye.
And myself, unanimous. We will adjourn. Good evening. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Richard.
Night, guys.
Night.
Good night, everybody.
And Zoom host. Good work.
Zoom, you can take off.
Went off well.
Good.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye now. So let's see, I got all this paper to pick up. Dawn Marie, thank you.
You are welcome.
Marie.
Have a great night.
I predicted you would do a great job, and you did.
Thanks. Yeah, I tried to focus on taking notes and scrolling the applications.
Good. You did
Thank you. All right. And we'll talk to you soon.
Good.
good. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night, Bob.
Good night.